Nigeria's main opposition party is in crisis. The People's Democratic Party, which governed Nigeria for 16 years before losing power to the APC in 2015, is now fighting itself in court, losing governors to the ruling party and heading into the 2027 election cycle deeply divided. Senator Aminu Tambuwal has resigned from the party. 12 federal lawmakers have defected. The Supreme Court is yet to rule on the legitimacy of the party's leadership. With just a few months to go before Nigeria's next general election, the question is whether the PDP can survive its own internal war. I've been speaking with Ini Ememobong, National Publicity Secretary of the People's Democratic Party. Ini Ememobong, thank you so much for joining me in London on Channel's Business Global. The PDP is effectively two parties, right? So we've got the Turkey faction and the Wike-backed Caretaker Committee, both fighting in court. Some would say it's an embarrassment and a sham. How does a party fighting itself expect to fight the APC in the next few months?
You may be true in a sense, because when you look at both contending groups, you would know that one is APC, one is PDP. So in a sense, you're right that we have the APC in the PDP and we have the PDP in the PDP.
Your words, not mine, Ini.
So I agree with you, because when you look at it, I mean, they are not hidden about their intention, they are open about it, the things they are doing, and so there's not a problem with that. Clearly, we're already fighting the APC by fighting Wike. So we're trying to extricate and make sure that the internal boundaries of the PDP remains sacrosanct and has only PDP members within it. So which is why fighting Wike is a strategy of fighting the APC. I mean, the president hasn't been pretentious about it. The chief of staff to the president, even the APC national chairman hasn't been pretentious about it. You've seen them receiving, the national chairman of APC receiving Wike. You've seen Wike having the capacity to anoint candidates in the APC. And so there's conclusive
it's clearly a favoured minister by the president.
No, apart from that, there is a conclusive proof that Wike is working for the APC. And so his people within the PDP are APC members within the PDP who are trying to destroy the PDP for the APC. So a battle to sanitize the PDP is a battle against the APC. That's the beginning of it. And so when you look at it from that perspective, knowing that they have their hands in our party, and we're trying to remove their hands from our party, consolidate the internal walls and boundaries of the party, so that the things that are done there will remain internal to the party. So it is an embarrassment that democracy in the 21st century, especially in Nigeria, after 27 years of democratic experience, is not consolidating. Rather, we're still having this kind of very crude and banal fight happening. So it's embarrassing, that's true.
Every time I switch on the telly, you're seeing governor after governor defecting, lawmaker after lawmaker. A lot of people are saying online, Ini, that the PDP is no longer a credible institution. Even if you don't agree, can you understand why people would think that way?
So the first question would be to question the reason and rationale for people leaving. So when people leave a platform that they were elected on...
That's no longer serving them.
No. So when they leave a platform that they were elected on and they now go on to join the ruling party, it clearly shows that there's either something they are running away from. And especially when you hear some of them tell you, oh, the president personally invited me. And so it's a strategy to decimate the opposition. But now the issue is, who are the people who elect governments? Is it the governors or the people? And so the question for us, our attention now is not about the people whom we made, who have left us. It's about where do Nigerians stand? And is our party aligning our stance with Nigerians? That's the critical question. Governors will be made by platforms and by people. And so if they move to another, they'll lose election. It is where the critical question is, where are Nigerians standing at the moment? Are they standing with government or against government? And as an opposition party, you live in this country. You do know that long before the elections, clearly, you knew that Labour was coming back. So whether someone was leaving...
What, a PDP coming back?
Of course, and certainly. So it is
not in 2027.
No, see. You will be shocked about it. That is why the duty of the real PDP is to align with the people. The people have the capacity to vote people into power. And therefore, if you align with them, if you align with the feeling of insecurity that they have currently, if you align with their pains and have a panacea towards it, then you're going to come to a point where you're going to get elected. You don't get elected by joining the government, the party in government. You get elected by aligning yourself with the desires of the people. And if you check the barometer of the people today, is a quid notice for the APC, and which is why they are running helter-skelter to see how to flip that around. But they are not listening to the people. They are talking at the people. They are not talking with the people. And that is where PDP is interested in aligning our interests with that of the people. Because, I mean, we buy from the same market, we are facing the same things. That we are PDP doesn't mean that the things that are happening to the people are not happening. So we are facing it. We are facing the brunt. The insecurity. As a parent, you wake every day conscious that children, school children, are still in captivity. You realize that in our country back there, you discover that a lot of government officials are negotiating with non-state actors. You now determine that you now see a situation where non-state actors can declare public holiday and the state government will say, no, it's not happening, but the public holiday will be there. That is the reality. It has nothing to do with partisan politics. It has everything to do with someone who promised, who sought for a job, who knew what the job entailed, who made promises, and who is unable to fulfill those promises.
I think a lot of our viewers would say the PDP governed at a time where those same issues were happening, but let's not digress.
No, you're going to look at how they happened then, how they happen now, and what are the dynamics of the same.
Let's talk more about democracy. Your faction said on June 12th that Nigeria's democracy is still struggling, but is the PDP's own internal crisis with Wike not itself a threat to democratic reforms and norms?
Truth is that the activities even on June 12, 2026 alluded to that. June 12 was obtained by struggle, by resistance, by people looking straight into the eye of the government in power and saying, no, what you're doing is wrong. Apart from that, the lessons of June 12 circle around the cohesion of the people, not the division of the people, because the people clearly voted against fault lines in that election. It also speaks to the integrity of the electoral umpire. And today, when you compare the Humphrey Nwusu-led NEC and the Amupiton-led INEC, you see parallels, So on that day, people who were peacefully protesting were attacked. First by the police and security agencies, second by hoodlums sponsored by pro-government agents sponsored. And so you could not have spat on the grave of June 12 more than doing that. And so when you leave the concept of June 12 and you look at democratic consolidation on its own, Julie, you're going to see the fact that today, as we speak, democracy runs on a viral and credible, viable opposition. Today, the duty of the decimation of the opposition is funded, the state engineered, is funded directly by government, that the president of a country addressing the parliament on a very critical, he doesn't address parliament. He's not like the prime minister who goes to parliament on every parliamentary day. He's the president who visits parliament. Every of his visitation to parliament must carry a unifying message for the country. But the president stands in the hallowed grounds of the parliament and praises himself that when the opposition is weakened, he's excited. Now, so when opposition is weakened, the pillars of democracy is weakened. And so you're simply saying that, look, we are railroading the country into a one-party state, and the president has the effrontery to say that in parliament. And you need to understand the context. If he said that from a broadcast, it's clearly different from the villa. If he said that at a political rally, we won't take it. But to say it in the hallowed chambers of the parliament, the very basic, the foundation of democracy. And you know that there is absolutely no way you can have a qualitative democracy without having a strong opposition. And you go there to antithetically promote that we are excited when the opposition is decimated.
Well, you kind of shifted responsibility there to the president, not really the PDP, which I was asking you about. Let's move on now, Ini. Let's talk about INEC.
The internal is affected by the external.
Fair enough. Let's talk about INEC. Now, your faction has asked INEC to de-recognise the Wike-backed committee. INEC hasn't moved. So what happens if the Supreme Court doesn't rule in your favour?
The Supreme Court has already stated the position of the law. Number one, that the convention which produced Tanimu Turaki has been nullified, and that's no longer an issue, and which is why we are now in an interim national working committee. Number two, it also ruled that the suspension of Ajibade, the national legal advisor, Anyanwu and Co., is unquestionable in law, and the Court of Appeal recently said so. So it would be practically impossible, except, well, since we now live in the rule of force. But when you see the fact that, for example, INEC was a party in the case, in the Court of Appeal case, and the Court of Appeal has said unambiguously that Eke Ajibade can no longer serve and was not re-elected. There's no evidence of his re-election as the National Legal Advisor. But if you open INEC portal today, you're going to see his name there. So the capacity for INEC to selectively determine, what judgments to obey and not, points again to the threat to democracy. And since we're still in the month of June, is a clear opposite to the Humphrey Nwosu-led NEC, which was commended by Nigerians, which is why we're even having the discussion about June 12th, because a man was able to say, listen, a court gave a judgment, like courts are giving judgment today, and say the election shouldn't hold. He said, look, I'll continue with the elections because there's already a law that says that no judgment of courts can prevent the elections from holding. I'm not sure Mupiton would have been able to do so, because now he even has judgments in favor of the opposition that he clearly shows his bias, and his hands are shown. But, I mean, as we get to that point, the Supreme Court will restate the law. There is a procedure of stare decisis.
Time is ticking, and only time will tell. Let's talk about the cost of living crisis in the economy. You've consistently, criticised Tinubu's economic reforms. However, the tide did turn a few months ago. We started seeing some pretty strong data and commendations from the IMF. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, you live in this country, and when it's time to vote, you don't vote data, you vote experience. Nigerians in 2027 will not vote data, they will vote experience. There's no harm in conceding that the macroeconomic indices and the data are looking good. S&P recently upgraded from B- to B, which that is still not a strong place to be.
It's better. It's an improvement.
It's better than what? Yeah, it's better than what it was, but it's not where we ought to be.
Yeah.
A country as rich as Nigeria has no business with poverty, and therefore proper management and leadership will take us out of that. But let's even go to that. When you look at the GDP that my friends in government have been talking about, the GDP is not a reflection of individual growth. Is a reflection of collective domestic production, meaning that fewer people can do more. And so when you look at the inequality in the distribution of wealth and resources, when you look at the Global Happiness Report, where we currently sit as 106, we're number 78 in 2015 when PDP left office, out of 156. Now, out of 145 countries, we are 106. And that clearly shows that, look, microeconomics isn't working. Are the prices of food coming down? The answer is no. Is the cost of living coming down? The answer is no. Are people experiencing the benefits of the macroeconomic policies? However, the answer again is no.
Okay, but it is always easier to be in opposition than it is to govern. What will the PDP do differently? Were you against the removal of the fuel subsidy?
Now, so clearly, when in 2012,
briefly, if you can,
when in 2012 we started the issue of fuel subsidy, and that is why
you didn't follow it through.
No, but we marketed it. It was the president who led in Lagos and almost caused anarchy.
You didn't follow it through.
No. So how we were listening, government. We're not like the president who, without any caution, would, in a speech before entering his office, remove subsidy. That's not how things are done. We followed through a plan.
Well, that's what's happened.
No, but you need to understand, and that is why the economy is struggling to recover from the harm. Markets react to presidential speeches. Markets react to political activities, and that is why, in just one day, you saw that the price. So
very briefly, what would you do differently?
Obviously, we're going to increase production locally. We're going to stabilize security. Like you saw that before Jonathan left, it wasn't as bad as it was 2 months before then, and it wasn't as bad as it became 2 years after then, meaning that we have the panacea to this. And the next 4 years is a period of national healing. The next 4 years is not a period for deeper polarization, of which is what the strategy the current administration is using. We need national healing so that the ground can be fertilized and prepared for the economic growth.
We need global healing, to be fair.
Yeah.
Inni, you said 2026 would be a definitional year. The PDP would come back strong. We're halfway through the year. The party is still in court. Is Goodluck Jonathan running for president or not? We don't know. Is a credible 2027 challenge realistic? Inni, I want you to be honest with me.
So in being honest, the fact that you're still discussing PDP today as an opposition party and not as an appendage of the APC is the fact that it's a definitional year. Okay. It's the fact that people are fighting hard for it. It's the fact that when you look at the quantum of resources that the federal government through their agents have put in to make PDP an appendage of the ruling party, then you know that we are still standing strong today, and we are still in contention in the minds of Nigerians. And you're still asking whether Jonathan will run or not.
That's a $1 million question.
Yeah, so that shows you, Olainka, that
we want the answer.
The answer is clear. Time will tell. But where we stand today, we stand on very strong footing. We stand on the footing that Nigerians appreciate those who are fighting for this democracy, and that the strength and survival of the PDP is an opportunity for opposition parties to survive. You see what they did to the ADC. If not that the Court of Appeal, ADC, AP and other parties, if not that the Court of Appeal intervened. This battle started with the PDP. If they had won with the PDP, they would have rolled over the rest. That we are still fighting, and we are making sure that multiple party democracy is a function, a critical function and element of our democracy, is something that shows that we are in strong footing. And the fact that people are asking, is Jonathan running or not? You know, Jonathan is the candidate of the PDP, and I can assure you that he will be on the ballot.
Ini Ememobong, PDP National Publicity Secretary, thank you so much for your time and expertise today. Thank you, Ini.